Well, good morning, everybody.
Hello.
We are here. Hey, we're at the local Starbucks across the street from our hotel in Mesa, Arizona.
Yes.
So we have background music, which is kind of neat. A little bit of
Little groovy.
background ambiance. People coming and going early.
Just now getting light.
Just now
here.
getting daylight here. It's about, believe it or not, it's about 50 degrees. It's lovely.
Yeah.
It's so nice and stuff. But we're just here. So let us know if you're able to catch on and how the music is. If you come in live, I know we're a little off schedule by about a half hour or 45 minutes just because of time. It's kind of weird. Arizona doesn't change times.
Right.
They're fixed.
Yep.
So they're actually 2 hours. They're like on Pacific time, even
Yeah.
though they're in the mountain time zone. So
Yeah.
anyway, so it's about 6 something in the morning here.
Yes.
It's about 8 something in the morning there for you guys in Central Standard Time.
Yep.
Or wherever you are in the world. So
Yeah.
again, I guess we're here in Mesa, Arizona. Where are you guys at? Where in the world are you watching from? Whether this is live or on replay, just would love to hear where you guys are tuning in from. Let this big truck kind of do its thing.
They're gonna be coming in a lot.
They're gonna be coming in a lot. We got a little bit of glow from the yellow lights.
Oh look, I'm glowing.
You're glowing. But no, we're just gonna keep talking this morning about cultivating our connections. About cultivating those God-given. Last time we were together, we weren't able to do a live yesterday just because of travel time. We thought we might squeak it in, but that just didn't happen.
Yeah, no.
Catching planes
Yes.
and traversing airports, etc. But, you know, we talked about the value of people. That where connections begin is actually having a kingdom or a biblical value of and for people, right? And so that people are God's most treasured gift in this life. And next from there, I think to talk about two things, because that's even while we're out here in Arizona, is we're actually taking the time and the energy and the effort to cultivate the connections that God has given us. And I guess today we'll talk about, and probably let's just go and say next week, I'd like us to talk more on this.
Okay.
Because it's such a big topic. And so, but that God gives us people.
Yes, He does.
Right? So the first step is knowing the value of people, that they're the most valuable thing. And then the next thing is to realize that God has people for you and I.
Yes.
That He actually wants to give us a group of people. You know, I know in our culture that's already, you know, who are your peeps? Who's your tribe?
Right,
I know that was, I think Malcolm Gladwell wrote that book called Tribe. Who's your tribe? Who are your peeps? Who are you? Who are your folks? Who are the folks you hang out with? But God has people for us, right? And just some verses to kind of go along that with. One of my favorite is in 2 Corinthians chapter 8, which is interesting because 2 Corinthians 8 and 9 are the two New Testament chapters that talk the most about New Testament giving. But right in the middle, like dead in the middle, it's verse 16 of chapter 8, Paul talking about this offering that's going to the Macedonian church, talking about people. He says, thanks be unto God for Titus, because God put in Titus the same heart for you that I have. So in that one verse, Paul tells us, hey, listen, I'm so thankful that God put the Corinthian people into Titus's heart.
That's right.
Did you know that God wants to put some people into your heart? He wants to give you a group of people. And I think that group of people, again, like Titus, it might be a city.
Yeah.
He might give you a city's group of people.
Yeah.
He might give you a ethnic group of people.
Right.
He might give you a demographic group of people. I know that I can say kind of for the first time that happened to me just this past December is I had a dream. About mid-December, I had a dream. And in that dream, it was a dream about my eldest son, Caleb. And he was in it. And even though, oh, wow. An Arizona chicken is chirping. We have chickens in every show. It's awesome. But God, but God gave me a dream about this this demographic of our young men, about 13 to about 23, about a 10-year window. In my dream, it was about a 10-year window of time, 13 to 23. And he really, I believe, put in me that demographic of people. And they've been a real focus of my prayers lately since that dream.
Yeah.
They've been a real focus of my meditation and attention about, Lord, well, what do you want me to do?
Right.
You've put this group of people in me. And y'all let me know. I know I've seen people kind of pop on and off. Let me know if you can hear us okay. Because between the smooth jazz of Starbucks and the Arizona chicken, I just want to make sure you can hear us.
Yeah.
But God gives us people. So can you identify who are your people?
Right, exactly.
Do you know who God has given to you? Now that's a top level kind of group of people, is right, like a demographic or a city or a nation or an ethnic group. But also God gives you singles. He gives you individual people.
Yes.
And when I ministered this last Sunday at Irondale, I real quickly read through a list, and we'll do it again. But think about all the people that God connected. Again, there's Moses and Joshua.
Yes.
Who else can you think about? There's David and Jonathan.
Yes.
Who else can you think about?
You said Moses and Joshua.
I did. I said Moses and Joshua.
Well,
I'm putting her as a test.
Paul and Titus, Paul and Timothy, Paul and Luke.
Yep. Paul and Barnabas.
Yeah.
Right. There's Paul and Barnabas. There's Jesus and John. Because even from that, there's Jesus and John. There's all these individual people.
Yeah.
That God, you can look and God connected.
Yes. Yeah.
Right. And what I want us to do, and I'll put this on there and we'll unpack some of these, is, and so we got a few more minutes, we'll be with you, because again, I'm not sure how this is coming through, so I don't want to belabor bad audio or anything, because we're not obviously in our studio back at the wood shop, is to go through some of these individuals.
Yeah.
And let's talk about some of their stories.
Yes.
Because in the stories of these individual people, there were things that they did well.
Yeah.
And there's things that they didn't do well.
Yeah.
Right? To maintain or lose their connections.
Yeah.
Right? Because some of those, again, classically and we'll talk about it here, on the positive side, and this is the one I kind of wanted to talk about this morning, there was Elijah and Elisha.
Yeah.
Right? And we'll talk about them. And they're a good example of a positive connection.
Yes. That
was created and maintained.
Yes.
Right? But on the other side, there's Paul and Barnabas, which is another great example of a God-given connection that started off well. Yeah. And then kind of fell apart. Yes. Later on.
Right. Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And you look, so we can go through, but the point is I really want us here that would call, you call what we do here part of your journey with Father, is who are the people God has given you?
Right, exactly.
Who are those? Can you say, man, God gave me so-and-so?
Yes, yes.
Right? And if we can say, God gave me so-and-so, then there's things that we must do to maintain, because I think sometimes we think, we've run into this before, like with people we can look back over our journey and there's people that we can say, well, God brought us together with this person or these people. And somehow we all thought it was supposed to just magically happen.
Oh yeah, no.
Like, why is this so challenging? Why is this so hard? Why can't, God brought us together. It's just supposed to be roses and buttercups and daisies and butterflies and flowers.
There's some definite relational dynamics that you have to learn and do in order to cultivate, just like gardening isn't automatic.
Very good.
Just like you can't just walk out there and throw a bunch of seeds and expect a beautiful harvest. You have to irrigate it, cultivate it, take out the weeds, watch it, help it grow. And if something happens like a blight or something, go in and treat it. So there's definitely good work, but the fruit
Yes.
And the harvest is beautiful.
The effort is worth it, because again, and that's what I want to say, because sometimes we think these God relationships are just somehow, again, they're just mystical, magical. They're just there. They just happen, and it flows so easy. And what happens, I've seen to people is when that doesn't happen,
right,
and it won't happen, there will be a challenge at some point.
Yeah.
People disconnect.
Yeah. They just disengage.
They disengage from that relationship because, well, this is not easy.
Right.
This is not just flowing.
Right.
And guys, listen, and that's one of the big dangers in this is that God is going to connect us with people. And I have found that in His loving wisdom, many times He connects us with the people that we need,
not the
more
ones
than
necessarily
that we want.
It's not about our comfort. It's
not
about what we need.
He connects us with the people most who will hone our character more than
cause us to grow and expand.
More than will make us comfortable.
Yeah.
Right. And we call those people. We look at, and there's many times now we know when I can sit back and say, "Oh, God has brought me these people," and I can say these are some of my people. I know they come with sandpaper in their hand. And I probably
polish.
And I probably come with sandpaper in my hand.
Yeah.
And we're polishing on each other.
Yeah.
Right? And which is not always like going to the spa.
No.
Right? It's not necessarily going to be an ushy gushy massage. It's gonna it's gonna be sandpaper. We call those people, oh, these are some of our sandpaper ministry friends, because they're polishing us.
Yeah.
They're helping us.
Yeah.
And I have learned to let them.
Yeah.
I have learned, even in many cases, to ask them.
Yeah.
Hey, please
speak into this.
Polish me.
Yeah.
God, I can say God brought you into my life. Man, Starbucks is a hopping this morning, y'all. It's a hopping. It's good. So we need to land. So let's talk about this real quick. So Elijah and Elisha. So help me remember, say, when we do more of these next week, and we may even do some more tomorrow if there's time. I don't know if there'll be time.
Not tomorrow.
Oh, it's such a busy schedule at the
full
conference.
day at the conference.
But anyway, we might pop in and do some more of these while we're here in Arizona. Anyway, I'm just having all these ideas. It'd be kind of fun. I'd actually love to. I might try to see if Ben wants to come on.
That'd be fun.
That'd be fun.
Yeah.
And so anyway, but is Elijah and Elisha. So if you remember the story, this is how this started, and this is interesting because a great God connection started at the point of Elijah's greatest failure. Which is funny because it was also the point of Elijah's greatest success.
Right.
So Elijah, if you remember the story, Elijah has his big showdown on Mount Carmel with the prophets of Baal, and he calls down fire from heaven, and then he ends up killing like 700 and something false prophets. I mean, it's like how do you say, it's like it's like a movie, right?
Yeah,
I mean, it's like there's blood and guts going everywhere, and there's fire and and all that.
It's pretty epic.
And then all of a sudden Jezebel shows up and says, well, tomorrow I'm going to do the same thing to you. And all of a sudden, Elijah, he like so many, he got afraid.
Yeah.
And he takes off a-running.
Yeah.
And it's so cool how God, even in the midst of his fear, God takes care of him. That's the part where he ends up at this cave. Mm-hmm. And that's the whole famous one where, an earthquake happens and some kind of whirlwind happens and a fire, like a brush fire happens. And it says, and God wasn't in the whirlwind, and God wasn't in the fire, and God wasn't in the earthquake, and God wasn't in, but God showed up in a still small voice. And I love that story. Mm-hmm. But you got to remember, this is where he failed. Because he ran.
Yeah.
Right? And then it says, in that time, and then that still small voice, if you go back, and I forgot what book, Old Testament, like one of the Kings or something, it says then that God tells him, he lists like 3 or 4 people. Mm-hmm. He says, hey, go anoint Jehu as the general, go and anoint this guy as the king, and then go and anoint Elisha, the Tishbite,
to take your place.
Because
you're all done.
Because you're done. You've let fear. Now listen, guys. You've let fear run you out of my plan.
Yeah.
And so, wow, let's let these, the guys over here at Rudy's just had their breakfast tacos. So they're going to let them go on.
That's loud, man.
That is loud. So sorry, guys, we're out here just living the life fandango here in the middle of the star. But anyway, so he goes, he says, now you're going to anoint. And so listen, so God will always give us a connection to take our place.
Yeah.
When it's all, you don't have to worry about when my time is over.
Yeah.
Whether I correctly finish my race or whether I incorrectly finish my race. God will send somebody that will connect with you, and they'll be the one to take your place. So I just always find that interesting. But it says, here's the story I wanted to get to. So Elijah goes and he finds Elisha, and it says Elisha was out there and he was plowing with 11 other dudes. They were plowing some big field and he was number 12. And it says simply that Elijah walked up behind Elisha and dropped his mantle on his shoulders and basically said, follow me.
Yeah.
And then Elisha begins with this whole kind of almost like a Jesus sounding story.
Yeah.
Hey, well, let me go say bye to my folks and let me go do this and let me go. And then Elijah basically says, well, what do I have to do with you then? And just starts to leave. But here's the thing. But then Elisha did something that is so important when we recognize God connections.
Yes.
It says that he shattered the yoke of his oxen, the thing that held them, killed the oxes, made a sacrifice, and followed Elijah. Basically, Elisha was the first person I know of that famously burned his boats.
Yes. Yeah.
He actually severed his old life connection.
Yeah.
So that he could connect to this new God connection.
Yeah.
And guys, listen, there will always be a moment when we can identify God-given connections where we may have to do some severing of our old life.
Yeah. Yep.
God brings us a new connection that's going to take us into the next, because again, Elijah was ending and Elisha was going to take his place, and Elisha had to realize, oh, a new phase, a new season of my life is starting. I'm going to have to sever the connections with this old life to move into the new one.
Just move forward.
And again, that was real reminiscent of what Jesus said when he told those people, follow me. And the one guy said in that story, well, let me go bury my daddy, or let me go say bye and settle this business deal, or let me go do this. Hey, listen, we're going to have to recognize there may be a time when a God connection shows up, and you just have to be willing to burn the boats. You have to be willing to say, I'm just severing these connections. I am moving on because it's time to move forward.
Yeah.
Right? But God is going to give you these connections. And hey, listen, and you'll know.
Absolutely.
Elisha knew. It wasn't a mystery.
No.
Like he knew, oh, this is that moment. I've got a defining moment in front of me. I need to just take it, right? And those are that's going to happen, and not every God connection, but in some God connections, there will be defining moments that we have to stand back and go, I'm going to be willing to change, rearrange my life,
right,
in order to have this God connection that's been brought to me.
Yeah.
All right?
Yeah.
Well, guys, we love y'all. Again, let us know how this was. Did y'all hear us okay?
Yes, please.
Was the sound okay? Again, we'll pick up with some of this in the days ahead. Again, as always, we're trying to figure out, again, let us know where you're watching, if you're watching via replay or YouTube and all of those things. And, we love you all, and we'll see you soon.